Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Howdy.
We're back for Season 2, Episode 7 of Voyagers Path.
Mm-hmm.
To say this real quick, we are part of the JPK Broadcasting Network. They have a website, jpkbroadcasting.com,
That's right.
I think, and they have a YouTube channel, and I believe now they have Spotify, which
Really?
is pretty legit.
Nice.
If you are new here, this is a little bit about who we are as a show.
Mm-hmm.
Voyagers Path is here to help teenagers and young adults bridge the gap between the current circumstances and a thriving, prosperous future.
Uh-huh.
Through character development, exercising discipline, cultivating wisdom, supported by positive mentality, good habits, and a healthy relationship building.
Mm.
I think that sounded pretty okay.
Sounded good to me.
All right, as long as it's good for you. Today, we are here with another review of the season 2, episode 2, 3, and 4, I believe. Yes,
Sounds great to me.
that sounds good to me. In order to kind of sum up everything we've touched on, we're just going to dig a little bit deeper on those episodes and make any corrections, make any
clarifications.
Yeah. But just like last time, I'm going to let Ahmed start us off here. So,
Nice.
do you have everything you need? Are you ready? You good to go?
You see,
Anything?
I'm
before?
ready.
Yep.
I'm ready.
Okay, go for it. Rock and
Okay.
roll, baby.
But yeah, like Tony said, we're just going to be reviewing a lot of the older episodes because we do reference the older episodes quite a bit. And for a lot of the newer audiences or those that, joined really late, it's just nice for us to, dig a little deeper on what we actually mean. The 3 episodes that we'll be reviewing, I believe the titles were, they're all accountability. That's the main goal of this season 2. But accountability for direction, that was one of them. Accountability for friendship, choosing who your friends are, and a little bit look in family. And that is one of the episodes because we did talk about family for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, sure. I honestly, you beat me there. I just have this season episode 2, 3, and 4, but I do think I don't think I think the 4th one was family.
We talked about family a couple times.
We did.
Yeah.
Season 2, episode 4 is family.
One of the family episodes.
Dude, you caught me. Look at that. I'm slipping.
You look
up.
at that.
I'm slipping.
I don't
up.
need the paper.
Don't even need paper.
But yeah, for the first one, direction, we were just talking about it, like what we said earlier with like
I was just talking about because you weren't there.
right,
Busy.
because it was you and Kevin. Anyway, you were just talking about ways as well as just what direction is and mindlessly drifting. And for most of the time, it was just you giving examples of people like those that had dreams but decided not to act on them, and they were just drifting, and they didn't take actions or take any, steps to actually move in that direction. They were just staying in place, content or not content with the ways they are now. And that was pretty much for the most part on what direction was about. We described what direction means, like your main goal for your future, and steps to take that. Like a couple steps in a day, you looking at yourself right now at your current life and saying, what do I want to do right now? What are things like right now? And should I change some stuff? But that's pretty much all I remember without actually going into specific examples like the friend you mentioned.
So no highlights, which is
Pretty sure those
highlight.
were the highlights.
I guess so. I mean, sure, if that's what you want to call a highlight, you can call it a highlight.
Right. But a lot of them was just you giving your personal examples of friends that you used to hang out with or people you used to know that didn't really have a direction, didn't really have any decision making, were just okay with just staying the place they were. But that's pretty much all I remember or retain from that episode. I'm sure you have a lot written in your paper.
you can see because I did type out a paper that I
Right.
did have a lot.
But anyway,
that's just me being prepared and all, for
Anyway, the next episode was about choosing who your friends were. And we mentioned friends earlier with the dartboard where it's like time, attention, energy, and you're not going to spend the same time, attention, and energy to your closest friend, to your coworker or an acquaintance.
Yeah.
But the friendships that we were talking about then was relating to the direction that we mentioned in the previous episode before. And I don't know if this quote was from that episode or the episode earlier, but it's like, Surround yourselves with a bunch of geniuses and you'll become a genius or something
that
like
Denzel
that.
Washington quote. Yeah.
But the whole point of that episode was saying...
See, you would have been able to quote it perfectly if you wrote it out. That's it. I'm done. You're good.
I'm so glad you have the time to patronize me in the middle of a podcast. But anyway, that's what the whole point of the episode was. It's us telling you how to, look at your friends closely and think, okay, are these the type of friends that will help me progress in that direction that I want to take? Or are these the type of friends that will drift? And in that episode, you also gave multiple examples of friends that you had that were, drifting, that didn't have a direction, that smoked pot all the time or drank or just had sex all the time and didn't really take charge.
Make me seem like a square. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much for the most part what we talked about. Like we said in the direction video and in a lot of the other episodes, it's just you having to make that action of first, reviewing what your life is like, reviewing your friends and seeing, hey, okay, is this the type of friend that I should put time, energy, and attention in the dartboard? And we reference the dartboard a lot because it's good, because it's for relationships and stuff like that. But other than that, that is for those are the main parts of that episode that don't dwell into specific examples like anecdotes or the friends that me or Tony had. But after that, the next episode was about look at your family. And one of the episodes, because we did mention family in a lot of the episodes. But for the most part, a lot of the episode was comparing you and my family, or I and your family. I'm not good with grammar.
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you.
You're the guy I count on for grammar.
That's crazy, because I wouldn't. Anyway, but we were just talking about what our families were like and how growing up them has molded us to be. I think you mentioned that, hey, when you asked me, hey, when my family asked me of something, I didn't give a lot of attitude. And if I'm being honest, I do give attitude sometimes.
Oh yeah, you just don't let me see it.
Yeah. But it's not as bad as calling like your mom Karen and then yelling at her or calling her a B word or something like that.
What, a bro?
Yeah. But for the most part, it's just then you went into your different family members and how growing up with your dad was like and how that molded you and how that affected your relationship with your mother and then how California helped with that. And it related to direction because from what I at least saw was that when you were with your family, it didn't really exactly help you with the direction you took, especially when you were in California where, all you did was smoke weed and hang out all the time.
Yeah, that good kush.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. Yeah. I would say you said you got that there.
Yeah, but that's pretty much everything that's one of the things we talked about in family because we, then we talked about your mom in the later episodes, but that's not part of that episode, so I won't get into that.
Technically.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all the episodes were. Would you like to talk about the points that you typed?
I would. And I was just ragging on you before. You're good about the typing.
I'm glad to hear.
We just have a little
a debate
dispute about
whether I should type down my points or if I can remember it like some people.
Yeah, but he's pretty good at that. I'm not, so I got to type it out. So yeah, man, that was I wrote down some stuff on the paper that I have.
I noticed.
Here, so I can remember it later about the stuff you said. So I'll get into what I did.
Please do.
So yeah, season 2, episode 2, video sucked.
What? It wasn't that bad.
Video sucked.
We were still figuring out how to talk.
The whole thing with it. In the past, I stated like there's a level, there is a standard that I'd like to have, and that's like the reference point. That is where that stemmed from because I did that episode, and then I went home and I was like, oh, this is bad to watch, and I didn't. And it's not so much watching it from like someone else's point of view. It was me knowing that I just didn't feel prepared. I didn't feel there were
the steps you took.
X, Y, and Z happened and was happening in my head, and as I was speaking, and as I was preparing, and after I got home, and all that stuff. So all these factors came into play, and I was like, pretty local.
I'm gonna be honest, man. All the episodes are like that. For
Yeah, I know.
me.
Yeah,
It's like looking at yourself and you're like, oh God, I said that.
I looked like that. That was me.
There's nothing wrong with how I look.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's. I just wanted to say that. So I feel like right here, I'm just gonna try and it took me an hour to say what I'm about to say here, basically, which is what I should have just said from the beginning. Good thing I didn't like. Yeah. Anyways, so direction. In the past, we've talked about the map and compass.
Right.
How
the whole point of Voyagers Past. Yeah.
So the whole thing with Calvin, my now dad. I think I talked about it. I think we did talk about when we had him on for the interview. He told me that he would offer me a map and compass, right? Quote unquote. Do you remember? Why'd you do?
A metaphorical
map
and
compass. Yeah. So he was like, I can show you a better life if you want a better life. But I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to force.
You have to make the steps.
Right. You got to take the step first. You got to take the first step. So I did. And from there, he has related a lot of things to this map and compass. And so direction. Direction is, which I sadly get this mixed up all the time. So direction is your compass, which I don't know why I would think map is your direction, but I do sometimes. Direction is your compass, and your map is your compass is how you get there. Dang it. Yeah, your compass is how you.
I thought you said.
See,
take a step and
take a. Yeah. So the map is how you get there.
The map is how you get there. The compass is the direction.
Right. So, for an example of utilizing the direction of your life, because it is being accountable. If you're just drifting around, if you're just kind of like what I was wanting to do, where I was working at the SMG Studio Movie Grill, I just wanted to. I saw how easy it was. You know, if you work hard, you can get promoted pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I could just be a manager, have a small apartment with a hot chick, and have my pot and my beer and be set. And that was, to a degree, arguably a direction, but that's not really productive. It's pointless.
It's not as
a waste,
big or
me
impactful.
Being a waste of space, you know. So now the direction that I have is, which I've talked to you about. I want to make movies.
Right.
And I want to make movies. I want to make, to a large scale. I don't want it to be, the next. I don't want to be like that kid who's going to film school and makes a lot of B movies, and then I make movies, but they all suck. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make crappy movies either. I want to make something that is going to influence the world. And I mean, to not sound crazy, but I do want to reach billions of people, and I want to change how I want to change and correct the mindset and misconceptions that Hollywood and other media things and basically how mainstream media has I don't want to say corrupt is one way to put it, but twisted, corrupt, people misunderstand it or
misinterpret,
whatever. All those negative words.
Right.
I want to stop that, and I do think a lot of that is where we get this drifting mentality. Is being fed this garbage, ingesting it, processing it, and saying to ourselves, "That's how I want to be. That's where I want to go. That's what I want to do." And that's where a lot of drifting. That's where I got my whole mindset from. And so right now, my direction. What you can do simply is, what do you want to do and make sure, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it shouldn't be a small thing. But, even with you with being a detective, you're taking the steps right now. You just applied for an internship at the Richmond Police Department. And part of that whole idea is that you have to have a place on the map and figure out how you're going to get there.
Right.
And for me, this is why I have the podcast. In part, that's why I have this whole... this podcast is supposed to be the very foundation of...
to impact those.
Yeah, in some way. Yeah, it's supposed to be the whole foundation that all this grows from. and it's going to, I know I'm a reasonable person. I'm not an optimist. Well okay. But I know it's going to take time and a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a patient man, kind of. My dad would disagree.
You have your moments.
I have my moments. And so, yeah, that is what you should really think about when it comes to direction, which we're not going to dig into too much more of that. I just wanted to, which I wish I did it correct the first time. But honestly, it's all I had to say is direction. The best way to get it is to think about what you want to do to impact your life.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's going to put you on a certain path.
Right.
And I hope that your path is a level of servitude. Servitude?
No idea what you're talking
Servitude or servitude? Serving.
To yourself?
You're looking at me stupid.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it's servitude. I can't pronounce it. But serving other people and serving mankind.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. And if your path has something to do with serving those around you, and most people have that same pathway, and they're all kind of trying their best to help their neighbor, to help the person across the street, to help the person who's kind of down on the dumps, whatever it is, if everyone is trying to help other people, then you have some form of community, some form of ever-evolving community that is just getting better with time. Mm-hmm. And if your goal and direction is something negative, then you got the wrong idea. Most people have a pretty good idea of what's just and what's right, so I'll leave it to your own devices there. But that's enough on that. I didn't really have a highlight from that episode because I just felt it was complete and utter garbo from my perspective.
It was okay.
But anyway, moving on to season 2, episode 3. You were talking about my friends. You were talking about
the examples you gave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those friends. And I forget exactly. I mean, I know I only had like 3 or 4 real people that I did a lot of stupid stuff with, if I have to actually remember.
Right.
But I mirrored those friends, and you were talking about how
you surround yourself, you'll become those people. Yeah,
and so the reason why relationships are so impactful, the reason why we were covering relationship is because they go hand in hand with direction. And if you were to correct your relationships, you'll see an immediate change in your life. You see an immediate fix. Because if you sever these ties with these people who are alcoholics, or sever these ties with people who are pushing coke or doing all these other shady stuff,
right,
and you're no longer involved with them, then it is almost impossible for that to re-enter your life and to influence your life. And that's the whole perspective with the dartboard, like you said. I did feel that episode is pretty solid in recapping, because the whole 2 things you're accountable for, relationships and direction, I think there wasn't really much for me to add to that. I mean, that episode was pretty solid in its foundation. I did want to correct something, though. I think we said something about no one should immediately be moved into the center of your dartboard. Well, I guess not correct. I did want to point it out. I think you said that, or someone said that.
I didn't say that.
Well, then, still, the idea is no one should be immediately put into the center of your dartboard. And that's the concept there is that, let's say you meet someone. Let's say I was at a bar, and I think you're extremely handsome. And so I walk up to you, and I don't know, do my move, my signature. Hey, babe.
Oh, God.
How's it going?
Okay.
And then from there, there's this little spark, and I take you home, and the rest of that's history.
Let's keep this PG.
And from there, that's like a common thing. And you have Tinder, you have other, I don't know, all the sites. But the idea is that you find this person and you make them the center of your reality. You make them your whole world. You build your world around it.
But they shouldn't always be the center, especially not that quickly.
Yeah. And so that's the whole thing, is that you take somebody and you meet a stranger and you instantly move them to the center.
Right.
And so that's why everything, you're now captivated by this person. And everything this person does has an extremely powerful impact on your life because they're at the center of your world. And they're at the center of your dartboard. And all that and saying is you just don't do that.
Especially not quickly, because for all you know, a month later, they're a neo-Nazi or something like that.
Oh, it flipped up and hit my mouth.
Oh, no.
Another part in that is that there's no growth in the comfort zone. Have you heard that? I think I've used that with you in the past. No?
Maybe in a different phrase, but I understand what you mean.
Yeah, so there's no growth in the comfort zone. So for a buddy of mine, I don't think I was using it in this sense on the episode, but a buddy of mine, he doesn't like to be alone, which a lot of people don't like being alone. No one really likes to be alone. I didn't like being alone. My whole thing was, I was in 8th grade and I was having sex, and I was having sex every weekend. It was a blast. I was loving it. Mm-hmm. And then 9th grade came around, things weren't too different. Sophomore year came around, things weren't too different. And then I moved to California, and I'm completely separated from this world I built for myself. Right? And I couldn't cope with it. That's why I felt so easily. That's why marijuana made my stay there so easy. And when I came back, I was trying to instantly reconnect with every little thing I detached from, and trying to regrow that. And Calvin was like, "Hey, that's a bad idea. That's a terrible idea." And I didn't believe it. I didn't see it, and now I do. But the point there is that if we're going to take it into effect, if we're going to take it in the light of relationships, and in this case, romantic relationships, you cannot grow as an individual. If you're in 8th grade where you are developing, which is what we talked about on the right here.
We did. If
you are developing, which the time for development ideally is your,
high school.
Honestly, it's your entire life.
Yeah.
But the prime time where you're most malleable is like, I would say high school. If we could have one, the top is high school, but it's anywhere, it's around that. So a little before high school, a little after high school.
Definitely when you get into puberty.
Yeah. And so your parents are supposed to help you become and figure out who you want to be, what you want to do, give you a direction, and by the time you're in high school, you should be able to...
A possible direction?
Yeah, and by the time you're in high school, you don't need as much help from your parents, you don't need as much guidance from your parents. And so by the time you're going to college or you're in college, you are like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, blah, 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 and you're good to go. If you fall in love in 8th grade, you take yourself completely off track from where you were going.
Right.
And now it's kind of like in space how this planets follow the sun. They have a certain path they're going, and it's all due to the
center of the universe.
The sun is not the center of the universe.
Well, yeah, but
this is not the 1600, whatever year that is. The point I'm making? Where'd you bring in the center of the universe?
It's the expression. It's the metaphor.
Like someone is the center of the universe. Okay, I was being more legitimate. Like,
no,
planets, the reason why they go the way they do is because of the sun, the gravitational pull.
Yeah, they center around the sun, or the sun is the center.
Yeah, but not of the universe. You know that, right?
But that's I was saying the expression. I wasn't relating. Yeah, no, I get. Sun.
Yeah, okay. I was just making sure because you had me spooked there for a second. Yeah, so. The expression, the center of your world, your universe, whatever. But the point that I was making is if you're in 8th grade and you fall in love with this chick or guy or whatever, this person, who cares?
It's going to stop a lot of things.
Yeah. Your path is now influenced by this person. You now have this gravitational pull thanks to this person. And everything you do, you're thinking about this person. Every decision you make, it's because of this person, mainly. That's how it was for me to a degree. And you got to be careful with that. And so when you're alone, when you want that, when you want to have that physical connection, when you want to have that relationship, when you want that romantic, the thing that romance offers, which is curiosity, it offers exploration, it offers limitless experience that's why people love it so much. But if you're in high school and that's all you knew, and then you no longer have it, you're uncomfortable. You want that. You want to try and to get that again.
Especially if it's relationships that weren't always healthy for you.
Yeah, especially when there's no balance there, and so it's kind of like an addict, And that's same case. Someone who has whatever drug, and now you're they're dependent on it and you take it from them, they're going to try and go get it. It's uncomfortable. So that's another, I mean, two analogies there is you take something from someone and they have to suffer through, they have to do the detox basically.
And instead of growing and learning to live without it or learning to improve without it, whether it's without that negative relationship or going out your way to improve yourself, they want to go back to the way things were and not get in the direction of, you know, your direction.
They get back on the
comfort zone.
No, they fall off the wagon. You know, alcohol falling off the wagon, you drink again instead of trying to be sober. And same thing with relationships. You know, for me, went out and tried to have them again. And so the whole point is that, I guess, detox. And detoxing is not comfortable. But that is where all the growth comes from. And that's one of the highlights I had.
And one thing to add is, I think it's important to note that we're not necessarily saying, hey, just don't have relationships. We want you to have relationships.
You should be a killing machine. You should be a robot with no friends or
but what it's trying to point out is the relationships that you should be having should help you in that direction. And if it's not, that's not something you should go back to if you want to just remain the same, remain comfortable, even though comfortable isn't good for you in the long haul.
Yeah. Okay. The next one was a dollar bill reference. This one's going to be really quick. We made the reference to a dollar bill and how there's, you know, the value of a dollar bill is so insignificant because there's a lot of dollar bills.
Right.
And so if you apply that to sex, I was going through and I was having a lot of it and it was nice. Oh boy, was it cool. And did I feel cool for it?
Anyway,
and that's all I have to say.
What was the point you were trying to make?
So the thing that I see a lot, so I had another friend of mine,
right?
Another young guy. Tinder is huge, you know.
Still is.
Yeah, that's why.
I thought this was like back then.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. And so, Tinder's like a easy place for hookups.
Right.
That's what it's known for, and that's what a lot of people. I mean, I've said this before. I mean, do what you want to do, and I don't care what you do. It doesn't affect me one bit. But if you don't want to have a crappy life, if you want to do things a certain way, if you want to make sure that you're not taking on all this extra baggage and grief and emotional stuff with you while you're trying to evolve, grow, then going on Tinder and getting laid every weekday with a different girl is not productive, and it's not what you should be doing. I don't have much else to add to it. And the whole thing with the dollar bill, the more and more you do something that should have a lot of value, that is a sacred thing, which I guess all of that is perspective. All of that is mentality. But if you just give that away, then it really has no value. So when you actually are in a relationship and you're trying to be intimate and you're trying to connect on a deeper level,
it's more impactful.
It's it's less impactful if you just toss it away and give it away like a dollar bill,
like you do all the time.
Yeah. It's like a whole trust thing. I was watching my favorite show is Mr. In Between, and there's a scene in there where he's at like this anger management class, and some guy has a girlfriend, and apparently she's a total babe, but he gets in a lot of fights when they go out because people look at her and he just punches the people. And
by just looking at him?
Well, I mean, there's probably more to it, but I don't know. I'm not there. I didn't write the lore. I don't know the show. I don't know how he got there, but that's what he was saying. Is like they go out to a bar, she's dressing pretty skimpy, and guys look, and then there's altercations. And Ray's like, the guy he doesn't know what it is, and the quote unquote the counselor there is like talking to him and asking him questions, and Ray, the main character, is like, let me ask you this, mate. How many girls did she sleep with? And I mean, how many guys has she slept with? And he's like, heaps, loads, a lot, tons. And he's like, well, that's why, man. I mean, you don't trust her. I mean, what's a few more? And that's the whole basis right there, is that, what's a few more? And how are you going to stop? It's the same thing with detoxing. What's a few more beers? I mean, I can't take your word that you're going to stop drinking until you take some action and stop drinking. And I mean, there's the whole rabbit hole to go down there. I just realized, but I'm going to stop right there
Okay.
because I could talk a whole lot more on that one. The second season 2, episode 4, the last little bit there. I wanted to correct an allegation that you said it was.
Allegation?
Yeah, that you made.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
What did I say?
That it was last. I had you do something last minute on the spot. Remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of things.
Okay. Join the club.
Can I see the paper?
No.
Okay, then please go.
It was the whole. I had you do the introduction or something like that.
It was a bit last
It was-
minute.
no, I
it
was
was
like-
literally a minute before the intro.
I was like, here's the paper. Just say that, and you're like, this is so last minute. And
is that how I sound
yeah,
to you?
Then you told everyone that I did it last minute, which
You did?
No, very unprofessional. I just want to correct that.
Really?
Yep.
You didn't want to. You're so petty. What?
But the other highlight, the main highlight there,
Uh-huh.
is the definition of family. I think that was the most impactful thing from that episode. And that was the family is a group of 2 or more people related by birth, marriage, or adoption residing together.
And is that the Webster?
No, it was like you asked the same thing as last time.
That's
You
so
silly,
crazy.
silly boy. You silly. It's not the Webster definition. Calvin found it, and he was like, use this instead, because I was using the Webster,
Right.
and he was like, nah, this is a better definition, which
Okay.
it is. I'm not sure how different it is though. Don't quote me. It could totally be from Webster now that I'm thinking about it.
Anyway.
Any hoodle. And of course, just a little it's to add to that, friends can also be, family. Love, quote unquote, love you like a brother
You
or
have
whatever.
blood family, and you have the family that means family to you.
Correct. What is that Lilo and Stitch quote?
Hmm? Ohana means family?
There we go. And so I wanted to add to that. Calvin, one day we were having a pretty deep conversation, and he told me that people, he made the quote, that people don't, wow.
I am so sorry.
people don't choose the family that they're born into, but they can choose who they call family. And that,
You know, the Guardians of the Galaxy, like, that may have been your father, but that ain't your daddy.
that ain't your dad.
It's a good quote.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't, oh, wow. Hats
Thank
off to you.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was trying to debate on saying it or not, because we've talked about, belief system, religion, spirituality,
Culture.
all that jazz, culture. And there's a belief out there that, before you, I guess you don't know, but before you come to this material plane, there's another plane, and you kind of map out what you're going to do. You kind of plan out who your parents are going to be and all that jazz, and you make it.
Like, everything is predestined?
No. There's, just for the sake of conversation, fate and destiny. Fate is like something you can't change, and that's what I refer to. Like fate, it was this man's fate to die on this day and blah, blah, blah. There's no way out of it.
And what does this relate to family for?
Well, okay, good point. I'll stop there. Because I don't believe, because the quote is no one decides who the family is, but I do believe I believe that, before you come to this plane, because I believe that there's more to life than just this physical world.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do believe that you do kind of pick who your family is.
Mm-hmm. To some extent.
But on this to this material level, to this degree of material sense, you don't choose, and that's that. But you can decide who you consider actual family, you can decide who you grow that family bond with, even if they're not your blood-related family, because there's more to life than just blood.
Yeah.
Yep.
And since we're on the note of family, I think one thing we wanted to make important from that episode was, and this is mostly towards your example, but say you do have a bad family and not a positive impact like some people, the most important thing with direction and accountability is you don't let that get in the way of you growing. Just because your father is an alcoholic doesn't mean you have to be. Just because your family gets in the way of you or just treats you horribly doesn't mean you can use that as an excuse to not try and grow, to not have some direction in life.
Have you watched Supernatural?
A couple seasons. It got really repetitive, so I stopped watching it. Sorry.
Wait, excuse me as I
It's
open
another
up
conversation for
my
another
drink,
day.
my Jocko Discipline Mango Mayhem. Not sponsored, soon to be sponsored. Anyway, Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite shows. The reason I bring it up, it's the whole. I mean, the Winchesters die like 50 times or something, and like you don't leave family.
Spoiler, bro. Even though it's every season,
it's like you don't leave family behind. And I've heard people use that quote, but they use it when they're referring to their alcoholic uncle, who is like really crappy. And in that case, leave the guy behind. Move on. Move forward. I mean, of course,
you have to at least try first.
There's some degree. Yeah, there's a whole conversation.
Remember when Calvin mentioned he actually had an example where it's like
Cody?
Yeah, where he helped over and over and over, but it didn't look like he was growing. He didn't have any direction. He was staying, so eventually you had to let him go.
Yeah, and that's the perfect example. Actually, I'm so stupid.
Yeah,
didn't even think
that's
of
what
that.
happens when you remember.
Oh, shut up. And so yeah, that's. Well, I think I guess nothing else to say on that. Is you did it pretty well there.
I'm glad to hear.
Thank you. I'm glad we finished that. I wanted to hit a little bit more on direction. I lied. I had a little bit more to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was thinking, which I often do, how would I talk to myself? Myself being 8th grade.
Younger self?
Yeah, 8th grade me.
Okay.
And every time I do it, I'm like, well, I realized that 8th grade me would be like, shut up, you're stupid, internally. And he would listen and
not actually listen.
He would listen, smile, say, yes, sir. Good. Okay. I will. I'll do that. Blah, 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 blah. And then in my whole head, I'm like, oh, you're so stupid. Who are you? I can't wait to go home and whatever. But all that said, thinking about someone who was in the same place as me, I still struggle on a daily basis with discipline and still struggle on a daily basis with doing things on a repetitive, consecutively. Like sometimes I'll have a really good day. Sometimes I'll wake up and I wake up at it's 5:50 before my alarm goes off, turn off the alarm, feed the dogs, take them out, pick up all the poo, do all my chores, get ready, order breakfast, go pick it up before my dad gets out of bed.
Repeat.
But I don't repeat. I do that like once a month maybe. And
aren't you supposed to
do it like every day?
Is that the issue? Like
the issue, yeah, the issue is that I'm not doing it every day, and that's the point that I'm making is that I struggle still with doing things the right way, or how I feel like they would be the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's something that my dad, he's like, once you get that down, you'll be dangerous. And I can't get it down, and I really do try.
Well, that's good. That's the whole point in direction. You're not in your comfort zone.
Yeah. So the point that where that's going to lead to is to a degree, we haven't caught up in a while, but over the last, I don't know, I think it was about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was getting very contemplative of my life, and I had a pretty like down, a bad night one of those weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I was talking to a friend, and I overstepped a boundary. I didn't know that. I thought we were closer than, and this isn't like a romantic thing. It was I just thought we were closer, and I think it was, I said something, and I was like, oh, they did not like that, and they said I need time away from you because of that. I was like, okay, that's fine, that's cool. But processing that, which took like several days, I was beating myself up on it. And then on top of that, I was failing to do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I was like, small things like, oh, I didn't walk Bear. Now Bear, she's 8 years old, and there might be a time where she passes and there's another walk that I didn't get to do with her. There's more time I didn't spend with her. Instead, I spent it sulking. Something with like work. I'm coming to work and I'm wanting to go take a nap somewhere instead of actually work. There's a time where it's like, oh, I didn't get breakfast again, so my dad, who got 2 hours of sleep, is going to get up, clean, do chores, make breakfast as I stay in bed for another 10 hours. And all this stuff was just piling on top of me.
Mm.
And I was like, I got to this point that I've only been like a couple times before. And I was like, why live? As dark, I mean, that I don't think it's as dark as I can get, but it was a whole pondering of why even do this whole life thing? Why go through the motions, and why should I be here? And I was getting pretty dark about it. And I cried pretty hard, and I was angry. I got angry right afterwards, and I just was beating myself up on it. I was like, thought I was worthless. I thought that I was a waste of space. I was wasting time. I was wasting Calvin's time and energy. I was wasting yours. I was wasting my friends. I was wasting Bear's, and I wasn't utilizing anything. And I have a few knives, and I was like, man, it's easy to go out for a walk and just end it. And the point that I'm making with that, where this is going, it's not as, I think that's as low I'm going to take it. But the point that I'm getting with that is, after I processed all that, after I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself because that's stupid. I'm not going to kill myself because that's just, why do that? Because that's literally throwing in the towel at that point. In my head, I was like, I'm so upset with the fact that I'm wasting everybody's time. I shouldn't actually end it and officially waste everybody's time. There is still a chance to correct all these things that I've done. And so I woke up after that whole thing, that can be pretty exhausting. So you fall asleep pretty easily, turns out. And that morning, I called the friend who I had hurt unintentionally, which I've realized I do sometimes. Is I don't know, conversations are still weird with me. I've noticed, like, I still process them differently, and they're a small little. I've gotten pretty good nowadays after a lot of practice, like saying the right thing, acting the right way. But there's still some hiccups where, like that, for instance, was a hiccup. But I called them that morning. I was like, hey, I'd like to talk about X, Y, or Z. I left them a voicemail. I was like, I'd like to talk about it. And that was the first thing I did. And then I took Bear out for a walk. And then I ordered breakfast. And then I went to work. And I worked harder than I ever did before. And I made a lot of tips. And I helped a lot of people that I didn't even need to help. And I was cleaning all the bathrooms. And I was sweeping all the floors. And I was doing all this X, Y, and Z. Then I got home. I got home and I hugged my dad. I got home and I pet all three of my dogs, and I told him I loved him. I got home and I cleaned the house. I got home, and then I started doing all these things that I was failing to do on a regular basis. And I started reading a book, which I never do. I started making my bed, which I don't do. And I guess the whole point is that I'd never had, after all this time I spent thinking about, okay, how do you change someone? How would I change younger Tony? How would I get younger Tony to be a better individual? And there's a point that you realize you can't. I can't change younger Tony.
Not yet.
Well, like, I can't impose my will to force him to change. That's the point I'm making. Like, I cannot literally take young Tony or any other kid who's wasting their time and say, hey, look at where you're going. And it's south. You're going the wrong way. I can't do that. Not unless they open their eyes. I can't pry open younger Tony's eyes and say, hey, look, dude, this is where you're going. And you're going to be feeling this way. You're going to be thinking this thing. You're going to be having this problem, and this problem, and this problem if you don't turn around. And after sitting down and thinking about it, I realized that I don't know where I'm going. Still, I didn't know where I was going. And much like I find myself in conversations where, like, I'm talking and I have no idea why I'm talking. And this is not one of those times, but it's like I feel like I'm wasting a lot of stuff. And so part of direction, part of what that offers, in some sense, it's redemption. And that's kind of the message I want this episode to have, is that it is a form of redemption if you need to be redeemed. And if you don't need redemption, then more power to you. but that's what it's offered me. And the best way that I could ever help a younger Tony is to sit down and talk with him and see, hey, man, what do you want to do with your life? And he's not going to have an answer. I didn't have an answer. I just wanted to have sex, smoke my pot, get an apartment, rinse, repeat. But it's the basis of planting a seed. And if someone stopped and talked to me, I don't think, before Calvin did, if someone stopped and asked me questions and started planting a seed like Calvin had, in which I'm glad I'll just use him as an example. I mean, Calvin was the person who asked me all these questions and planted the seeds of change, and he watered them.
So, just want to make sure I understand. So instead of when you're talking about the whole, how am I supposed to change young Tony, you can't, like adults try to impact the youth, you can't just pry their eyes and tell them, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, the path you're going is wrong. You have to instead suggest some things, let them question some things, and have them think things through and experience it themselves.
Yeah, it's got to be processed. It's got to incubate. Whenever I was in 8th grade, like I told you before, I was with the person. I was living with the person who had abused me to such a degree that I turned off. I became numb. I turned off everything, and I was in mentally a dark place, and which allowed me a lot of room to do a lot of things and think a lot of stuff and plan out for many things, but. I was in this dark place and no one knew about it and no one asked about it. No one tried to change it because no one knew I was in this, I can't think of the right word, but this negative space. But part of being in that negative space is young Tony having all these negative influences and not having any positive influence out there. And part of the whole thing I was talking about before is having everyone on a path of servitude, of serving other people. I'm not sure if servitude is a word now that I'm saying
service.
It enough time. Yeah. But the whole thing with direction, the fact that I never had any until earlier, the fact that I was at that low point just the other week, the fact that I was, I guess you could say at the end of the day, lying to myself, running away from myself, running from the responsibility, and seeing that I failed this responsibility and squandered the opportunity that every day offered. And I don't know, none of my friends are dead. None of my friends have cancer. None of my friends are living a shitty life. None of my friends are just like in a bad situation. They're all okay. I don't know anyone who's really not okay. But I look at someone who's lost a lot. I look at, take for example, Jocko. I take for example, anyone who's been in the military and lost a friend. The thing that I see that drives them is that they're living for that dead person. And they're living because they can't. Their friend can't. And I look at myself and I'm like, why can't I just go ahead? Why can't I just make that? Why can't I do that? Why can't I just go ahead and live for these dead people? Because there are a lot of them out there. There are plenty of them who've died.
It's not that easy.
I don't have that person. I didn't go through training with them. I didn't hold a gun next to them and shoot and cover them or I didn't have a connection with any of these dead people, which is partly why it's a little harder and a little more difficult. But I realized that I was just running away from all these responsibilities, and I was running away from, I don't want to say myself because that sounds kind of stupid. I can't think of another word, but I was in part running away from the half of me that wants this change. And I've always realized that there are two parts of a person. You got the positive and the negative, right?
Right.
And the positive is the one that wants this development and wants this change. And the negative is the one that just, wants the negative stuff, doesn't want the growth, wants the easy road, wants the simple things. And part of this whole podcast, the whole beginning of direction, is that you have to sit down and see if you know you have a direction you want to take, it's easier. I don't know how to give someone direction. I don't know what it takes to make someone want something. And so that's why I was stuck when I was thinking about younger Tony, is I didn't want anything. And so the thing I'm trying to, all this in saying is with direction, to point it out, to put it, I don't want to say simply because this is obviously not simply, but taking a look at who you're surrounding yourself with, taking a look at what you're putting in your world, what music you're listening to, what movies you're watching, what friends you're hanging out with, and what you're doing with these friends. Taking a look at what impact you want to leave behind. Taking a look at the things that you want. And when it's something as simple as a car or a family, something as simple as a typical career or whatever achievement you want, there's something that everybody wants. That's for certain. And so you take a look at everything that you want and everything that you're doing now. And from what I found, what I want to say plan on doing. We can take the podcast, for example. Right now it's got 5 followers. It's got you, me, my dad, and then Mario and Pam that you met before, Justin, I think Justin's parents, and I think I can count everyone else on my hands, on my fingers. And I told you, we already have the whole plan. We have what we want to go and where we want to be. And I haven't done jack shit to get us in that direction. And partly is because I've been running away. Partly is because I've been more on the negative side than the positive side. And in order to, I never wanted to be the guy who what's the word? What's that saying? Something about preaching. Practice what you preach, or whatever. Is that
Sounds
one?
about right.
Yeah, practice what you preach. This whole time I've realized that I've been rationalizing. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to do this yet or this yet or this yet because I don't have X, Y, Z. I don't have A, B, or C down. I don't have this stuff. So I'm just going to wait. And when I was at that, I don't want to say suicidal sounds really intense. But when I was at that dark place, right, I realized that I've been rationalizing this entire time. I was like, I'm such a freaking idiot. And so what I did, which I have it here, is I made a list. And what I plan on doing today, and I'm saying this to you, and we've obviously got a podcast with people listening, but it's more of like a, put my money where my mouth is, or whatever that's saying. Making sure that I'm doing this and I'm saying this, and if I don't do it, it's obvious that you can go back and see if I haven't done this. But it's, I'm going to go and I'm going to purchase equipment for a camera and whatever, so we can be on Omegle, you and I. And so we can go through and start doing what we want to do with Table Talk, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. And talking to people our age, or honestly anyone, and trying to figure out, what they've learned and where they're going and what it is people are doing to get to where they want to be. And seeing how many drifters we come across and experiencing all that. There's a lot of wisdom out there to be had. And part of this podcast is having that wisdom shared. And so getting the equipment to be on Omegle, utilizing the social media accounts that I have for the podcast that I'm not using, streaming for YouTube and Facebook. All those are like the foundation, and I haven't done anything with it. And so now we have the foundation, and the best way to move forward with the direction is actually execute on it. And that's, I don't know partly why I rationalized so intently, but
If you got nothing else, I can add to some things.
Yeah, I was trying to wait on. Yeah, you can go ahead and add this.
Okay.
I gotta write this down.
These are just sort of some of the last, like, final thoughts I have about the episodes we had and about the topics. But a couple important things that you need to know about direction or the actions that you take to go in the direction you want is you're not always going to succeed. Like, the whole point in getting out of your comfort zone is to struggle, and that itself is actually going to help you grow. But since we're talking about struggle, if you ever are in a dark place and you think, oh, maybe this direction isn't good for me, or, you start getting a little too emotional about it, going back to the comfort zone or just taking a break isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's you staying in there indefinitely. That's the bad thing. If you need a mental break, that's fine. If you need to just, fail and be okay with it, that's okay, as long as you don't stay in that place. That's the whole point of direction and struggling with that. But that's some of the final thoughts that I had.
Yeah. Sorry, I had before. I have the habit of thinking of something and not writing it down and then losing it. But the whole thing is that direction. It offers a lot of things, and what it's offered me is redemption. And so right now, the whole point of, well, not the whole point, but a big portion of this podcast is having a direction and having a control and having a form of accountability. And so I can't tell you because I don't know, but you have to find out what direction is going to offer you. And for most people, direction offers power. Direction offers a sense of responsibility and a sense of accountability. And I think that's, before I run myself into the ground, that's all I'm going to say on that. And I believe that's all I have left for this podcast.
That sums up everything I say, too.
I wanted to do the whole...
outro?
Yeah.
Okay.
The song that I picked for this one was Red Water by Rehab. The whole song is, well, it is about, funny enough, it's about suicide. It's red water. The guy kills himself in the bathtub. He slits his wrists in red water. And this guy is, he's a businessman, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't say, but he's a wealthy person, a financially successful person. And one of the lyrics is, he was laying and I was trying to, I don't remember the exact lyrics. He was laying in a bathtub full of red water, first and last time he ever relaxed. And so part of that is direction. One of my dad's friend, he heard that song. My dad showed him that song, and forget the job he had, but it's really, really important job, makes a lot of money, takes a lot of technical know-how and skill, and it's not really a job you just you get and you toss away. But he heard that song and he quit, like, relatively soon, because he realizes he's that guy. He realized he's that guy in that song, and he didn't want to end there. He just had a kid. He's married. I'm not sure how long, but he's got a life, and he wasn't happy with where he was with his work, so he just quit. He left, and now he's got a totally new direction. I don't know what that is, but I know with knowing the people my dad surrounds himself with, those people, they change and they'll have a direction. So this guy must have a direction he's going in. And that's kind of partly why I had this song as the choice, is because it's all about this man who, was successful in the material realm. From outside looking in, he was successful, but he wasn't happy and cut the cord. So go check that song out. Doesn't suck. One of my favorite songs.
Okay.
And now I think I have it memorized, so I'm gonna.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Go for it.
Shoot. Wait.
Oh, here we go.
To future and wealth, to future and health, good fortune and wealth. To discipline and sacrifice, to lessons that last for life. To live for honor and for glory, death will come, be extraordinary.
Nice job.
There we go. And I'm not suicidal, just by the way. Before we end off here, I'm not going to go kill myself. Just, yeah. Okay, people. Have a nice day.
Yep. Have a good one,
Take
guys.
care. Bye-bye.
We'll be seeing you soon. Bye. Man, you are chugging those down.